Today we are going to give some clarification on the commonly asked questions. Hi, good morning, everyone. We are here today to clarify some questions that my students are keep on asking, especially in a different subject that I have. So for today, we are going to give some clarification on the commonly asked questions in our distribution management and integrated business principles. So let me try to start talking about the distribution management. So I asked some help over here, so I printed out those questions and for me to give some clarifications for the students' guidance as well, just in case they will come across to this kind of question once again. Okay, so can you please have the first question?
In distribution under distribution management, the first question are what are the 5 R's of distribution and why is it important?
Oh, actually, in distribution management, this 5 R's no, that we are talking about is technically very important because this defines on how are we going to satisfy the customer through the right distribution. And this 5 R's includes the right product to be delivered, should be delivered at the right time, the right place, and the right cost or the right price, and of course to the right customer. So why is this important? Because first of all, when you try to develop send the product to your customers, it should we have to make sure that the product that is delivered is the right one. So if the customers order like a phone and provide the specification, so it should be the right phone that will arrive, into the customer. It should be the right specification, the right color, the right design, the right shape. So whatever is being asked by the customer should be the right one, or should be the right product to arrive. Say for example, in a Jollibee and a McDonald's, if you try to order some food, and whatever they ordered should be the right product to be delivered, by the company, whether it's a third party distribution or it's a third party transportation or third party logistics like Lalamove or Grab that will bring the product to the customer. It should be the right product, because if it not, it will frustrate the customer. And of course the right time, so you have to be very careful with the time that is given. If the customer says that if you could deliver it in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, then you have to be very careful and watchful about it, because if the time is not being followed, then it would irritate the customer, so, and if the customers gets irritated, then it's a very big problem. And of course at the right cost. If you would notice that some customers who actually order online, they actually choose the application app or the delivery app that offers, of course, a very affordable cost, to receive the product. And there are actually some companies that or businesses that offers free delivery, because this is also a thing to come on the customers, and ask the customers to, like, oh, hey, let's order product there because the delivery is free. So that's why the right cost, it's very important, the right price that the customers is paying, to receive the product. Now when we talk about the right place, yeah, well, this is very common sense. If the customer asks you to deliver in this particular place, then bring the product there. Okay, should not going to bring it somewhere. So, and talking about the right customer, of course, if you could actually watch some news, customers or some people were like surprised when someone was knock on the door and then say, hey, you have a delivery, and this particular individual doesn't have any delivery at all. So you have to make sure that the right place, the right customers are being considered properly. Because if not, then as I've said, all of this will just keep give customers an irritations. So that's why these 5 R's are very important.
Second question, what is market segmentation and how it helped the business?
Oh, wow, that's a very tough question. Well, talk about market segmentation. It's like you like to look at the book and try to read its definition. It's like it almost all of them mention about dividing the market. It's how are you going to segmentize it? How are you going to divide the market? And if you read some books, there were different ways to segmentize the market. Now, let me try to clarify this. How important is this? The market segmentation. Um, Market segmentation includes like demographic, the geographic, psychographic, and behavioral, and there were other considerations like price sensitive customer segmentation, brand sensitive, so a lot of this. But the most the foundation of segmentations are this demographic, psychographic, and geographic. Now, it is always like a wrong notion for students. Like when you ask them, how are you going to segmentize the market? They just mention about geographic. They just mention about explain what is geographic. So it's not the way you are going to segmentize the market. What I mean here is like, what's the application? How are you going to make use segmentation for you to be able to be successful in identifying the market? All right. Now, say for example, we talk about geographic segmentation. So they are dividing the market based on location. Like say for example in Sampalo, Quezon City. So this is just an example. Now, you have to be very careful in segmenting the market using geographic location because this is the place where you are going to identify if that place really is the right place for your product. So, why is this important in distribution? Now, if you are the owner of the company and you wanted to know what's the best strategy that you can use to distribute the product down to your customer, you have to understand where your customers are. It's very important. You have to understand where your customers are. Now, segmentation will guide you in order for you to identify where is your market are. Are they in Sampaloc? Are they in Quezon City? Are they in Marikina or wherever it is? Because if the market is located in Quezon City and you are distributing your product in Manila, then it's common sense. Probably you might be barking at the wrong place. No, it's like you are not like sending your product into the right market. So that's how important segmentation is in terms of geographic aspect, the location. No, say for example, another example is that if your market is in Visayas and your product is here in Manila, then again, it's a very big problem. So how this geographic segmentation helps you? It helps you identify where your market is. No, uh, what are the situation of the location as to where your market are. No? So it's like this is to give you an idea on how are you going to distribute your product knowing the place where your customers is located. Now, it doesn't stop there. After you know where they are, you have to consider the demographic aspect. You have to consider the demographic profile of your customer. So knowing that, for example, they are in Sampalo or maybe in Marikina, let's put it this way, they're located in Marikina. Who are they? Okay, look at the demographic aspect as to if the customers in Marikina, who are they? Are they the ages of like say for example 10 to 15, 15 to 25? Who are they? All right, are they the millennials? Are they the Gen Z? Who are they? Because the Marikina market is so big, so it's not just like you're going to, okay, I know that my market is in Marikina, then I have to go to Marikina. It's very important that we have to know where in that we know they are in Marikina, but who they are, who the people in Marikina. Are they like teens? So that's part of the demographic. Now, You could actually also consider the psychographic one. What are their lifestyle, the behavior? Okay. Because this is very important. Like after say for example, the age, the demographic style. What are their ages, and then what are their lifestyle? What are their behavior in purchasing the product? Uh, what is the reason for this? For you to be able to know how much is your what is how your market behave, how your customers buys the product, what are their preferences, what are their considerations, so that when you try to distribute it, it will be easy for you to identify what terms or what types of distribution are you going to use. Okay, is the say for example, looking at this food chain, like for example Jollibee and McDonald's. I really love this making this company as an example. So look at how they offer the product. They have dine in, that's good, but not all customers have the time to dine in. So what they offer takeout. All right, now there were some people who is going to take out products but doesn't have any parking area, or maybe doesn't want to get out from the car and then try to touch some dine up and do some takeout. So what they normally do, they do the drive through. Now if you look at the market, you're able to capture this properly in a three different ways on how your customers get the product. You have the dine in, you have the takeout, and you have the drive through. So uh, why they were able to identify this? Because this was identified based on how the customers behave, on how the customers wanted to get the product. Okay, so if you look into it, it's really very important that you have to use the mix. I usually call it the segmentation mix, because the geographic alone is not enough, demographic alone is not enough, psychographic or behavior alone is not enough. Okay, you have to use the mix for you to be able to really identify what type of distribution strategy you are going to use just to ensure that the product reaches your market. That's how important it is.
Number three, what is environmental analysis? It the same with scanning or audit?
All right. You always hear different words, in terms of understanding the environment. Most common words that you would hear like analysis, but in the industry, you would always hear like an audit. You always hear say like scanning. So it's just like the same. You are trying to understand the situation of the business. Whether you scan, whether you analyze, or you do some audit, which is like the purpose of this is just knowing what the company is doing. Where are you now? What are you doing? Are you heading into the right direction? So this is the purpose of this. Now, when you read some books, you may hear the word scan the environment. It's like you have to look at the environment, or maybe some other book with environmental analysis. Okay, now what is this? This is for an individual, you students, especially when you start working. This thing is about knowing the environment of the firm, understanding the environment of the firm, whether it's internal or external. And actually, in here, okay, I just want you to bear in mind that whether it's an analysis or a scanning or an audit, it's just the same. All you have to do here is to understand what the company is doing. Where are they going? What are the things that the company is doing right now? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Okay. What exactly is the position of the company as of this time? The purpose of this is for the business to evaluate if the company is in a good position. Now, you actually use different tools in here. I believe that's one of the most common questions that students have. Like, what are the possible things to do for you to be able to scan, to analyze the environment? Uh, in the book, there is so many. different ways or tools that you could do it. You can use SWOT analysis, you can use pistols, and well, you can also use Porter's 5 industry framework for you to be able to understand the environment, for you to be able to understand the place where your business or the company is doing business. Okay, now let me talk about some of these tools. Let me talk about the SWOT analysis. If you look at the SWOT analysis, most common mistakes that or common notion, no, that an individual is thinking about SWOT analysis is that they think that as long as you put the strength and you put the weakness and you put the opportunity and the threat, that's enough. No, it doesn't stop there. Okay, you have to analyze, you have to understand what is this strength, this weakness, the opportunity and the threat can do into the business. So what if you put the strength? What is that for? So what if you put the weakness? What is that for? All right, now in distribution management, the purpose of this thing is for you, if you're working in a company, and for you to understand and analyze what your company is capable of doing in terms of distribution by knowing its environment, by knowing what is their capability, by knowing what is their strength and what is their weaknesses. Like say for example, Coca-Cola, it's a big company. What are the strength? What are their weaknesses? Is there any opportunity that they have, or is there any weaknesses that you have? Because most common people would say that the weakness is the competition. But why? What competition can do to become a weakness? Right? One competition can do to become an opportunity? Sir, technically, if you talk about competition, it is a threat. Yes, definitely. But a competition can be an opportunity as well. An opportunity for the company to improve. An opportunity for the company to do better. An opportunity for the company to establish a competitive advantage. Alright? Now, it's actually not enough that you just identify it. Now, after identifying, you should understand what these things can do. Are this strength? Are those strengths that you put in there have something to do with the business? If yes, how? Are those weaknesses have something to do with the business? If yes, how? And then how can you overcome those weaknesses? Now, is the strength can gives you a big advantage to get the opportunity? So how are you going to make use of your strength for you to be able to take the opportunity? How are you able to use your strength in order for you to overcome the threat? Because the threat is there. So that's actually the purpose of the SWOT. It's not just you simply identify it. All right? You should know what do the SWOT analysis can do to the current position of the business. Now, let's look at P-cells or pest or pestels, whatever they have, in every businesses. But it talks about politics, this talks about environment, this talks about the socio-cultural or the social, the technology, the economics, and the legal. So what is the purpose of this? If you look at these things, these are all external. Okay? Now, if you look back to SWOT as a tool, so you can make use of these two tools actually to scan and to understand the environment of the firm. Now, if you look at the SWOT, the strength and the opportunity, the weaknesses and the threat, if you look at strength and weaknesses, that's internal. That's inside the business. That is controllable by the business. If we talk about strength and weaknesses, this is the internal environment of the firm, wherein firm has a control over it. Okay, they have control over it because that's within their company. So it's a controllable force. Now, if we look at the strength, I mean the weaknesses and the opportunity, that's is external to the business. They have no control over it. They have no power over it. Opportunity is just over there. Threat is just over there. I mean, businesses cannot avoid this. All right, this is like beyond their control, and that's what they consider external. And why it's very important to understand this, because we have to know if the strength and the weakness, I mean, if the opportunity and the threat has something to do with your business. All right. Now, if it's not enough, if you wanted to know more, because yeah, you could possibly put politics as your threat, legal as your threat. And you can put it that way. I mean, you can include that in your threat. Now, how you would analyze this, you could actually use pistols. Politics, political, legal. What are the different politics? What are the different legal aspects that would affect your business? So that at least you know what to do. So that at the end of the day, you won't be surprised and you may not lose your business. So it's very important what's the political situations in a particular country, like say here in the Philippines. What is the political condition? Now, we actually have a history that whoever sits down, whoever the president is, might not follow what the previous presidents are doing. And this actually, every election, it would change the political system. It would change the political aspect here in the Philippines. So you have to be ready about it. You have to analyze what exactly is going on every time there is a change of administration. So you have to analyze those because you need to know how does it affect your business. All right. Now, in distribution aspect, are those political legal part really affects your business? Like say, for example, the policies on smoke filtering. Does it affect your business in terms of distribution? All right. Are the policies, individual policies in each provinces affects your distribution? So you have to understand that because you won't be caught in a surprise that when you try to deliver the product in that particular province, and the province will say, "Hey, no, your truck needs this, and this." All right. So that's why you have to analyze, you have to understand, you have to check, and you have to know, so that at the end of the day, you actually won't get surprised. All right. So that's how are you going to make use of those tools. Now, how are we going to use the Porters to understand the environment? Now, if you understand the Porters 5 industry framework, it is very important as well. Why? Because Porters would tells you the different areas like who are the possible competitors that will coming in, what are the possible substitute on your product, what are the powers of your suppliers, and even the customers. Now, why is this important in distribution? Okay, the substitute affects the affects the probably the sales of your product. The substitute would probably uh, take take the share of the market that you have. Now, if the substitutes are more than what you offer in a particular area, there is a possibility that your customers may buy substitute instead of buying your product. Now, distribution is very critical. That if the customer would find your product and the customer won't able to find your product, what they will be doing in aside from they may not probably go to your competitor, but the danger is there. They may be go to the substitute, and if the customer were used to it, they might forget you. That's why in terms of distribution, you have to be very sure that the product reaches the market. You can just imagine. I just give you an example, another example. Pizza. It's a fine dining restaurant. But there were customers that actually not going to dine in. So they have takeout. They have also deliveries. But take note, I know you know all of this. They have a pop-up, I would call it a pop-up store. Like, the small stalls that actually offer buy one, take one pizza. So what market are they trying to look into? What market are they trying to target? What market they are trying to capture here? So is it a way of distribution? Yes. You distribute your product that way. You bring the product closer to your customer. Wherein these customers have no time to dine in, no time to go to the big fine dining restaurant, your fine dining restaurant. So these people are just passers-by and wanted to take some maybe we call it merienda. No, they just like to take some pizza for like a piece of pizza, not the whole pizza it is, and it's working. I'm not sure in a day how much or how many pizzas we're able to sell, in a particular day. But if you look into it, it's very effective. That's one way of distribution. I mean, You really have to find a way to bring the product into the market. And this analysis would help you, would tells you that this is what your competitors are doing. This is what the behavior of your customer, definitely. And this is what you have. This is your strength. Then what are you going to do now? That this is what the customers are doing. How will you able to make use of your strength to make sure that the what the customers wanted will be offered? That's the importance of these tools. All right. So yeah, the environmental scanning, customer analysis, competitors analysis, those are all very important in distribution. Again, why? Because it helps you identify what you need to be, what is need to be done, or what do you need to do for you to be able to distribute the product right next to your customer. So, but analyzing those, you will be able to identify what's best for the customer.
Number 4, what are the tools needed to scan or analyze the environment?
Yeah, actually, I have mentioned those tools, already. Those three, or maybe other tools that you can make use. But the most popular one are the SWOT. But as I keep on saying, based on experience, SWOT is not enough. You need to use whistles. You need to use other tools. You need to understand the Porter's 5 industry framework so that you are always ready as to what is going to happen. You might probably the best distribution framework right now, but every day your competitors are doing something to, of course, overtake your possession. So you have to be very careful. You have to make use of these tools. That's the purpose of it.
How to do customer analysis and competitors analysis?
Wow, that's very tough. When you talk about competitors analysis, what you have to do there is you have to understand if you are really serving the same market. If you are really serving the same market, what are they doing in terms of distribution? We're talking about distribution. What are they exactly doing in terms of distributions? Are their product more visible than yours? Okay, are their product more visible than yours? How they actually brings the product to the customer? Is it the same as yours, or are you better, or are they better? Because actually, the reason why you need to do that is just to make sure that the customers were able to get your product than their product. All right. Let's say for example, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Royal Crown. You have to understand what Coca-Cola is doing. You have to understand what Pepsi is doing. You have to understand what Royal Crown is doing. Now, it's time for you also. When you try to analyze your competitors, you have to look at how the competitors serve the segment that you are serving as well. All right. How do they serve it? Now, do they serve it? Do your competitors serving the segment the same as what they this as what how they serve it in rural areas? Is it the same as how they serve it in an urban areas? So it's like you have to look at those things. Why? Because um, if you are what we call this, if you are like inferior than them, if your distribution strategy is inferior than them, if they are actually doing better things than yours, then you might be out of the market. That's why your customers can get your product. Okay, customers can get your product. As I kept on saying, you could probably check. See, for example, Coca-Cola. What's the presence of Coca-Cola in the rural areas? What's the presence of Coca-Cola in the urban areas? What's the presence of Royal Crown in the urban and in the rural areas? So you just can look into that. And then by just analyzing those and looking those, then you could design the right distribution framework.
Number 6, what is Porter's 5 industry framework?
Oh, that's actually the question that I have mentioned earlier. Porter's 5 industry framework. This is actually a framework that would gives you an idea, and who would be your possible competitor in the future. Okay, Porter would going to tell you what are the threat of new entrant. Do you think there is a competitor that will actually come into the market? Do you think that there is really a competitor that would technically compete your product in the future, or maybe compete your distribution system in the future, because there might be a competitor that might be offering the same product right now, but they are using a different distribution system. But once that competitor, because they are also analyzing the environment, but once that competitor were able to see that your framework is better than what they're doing, that your framework is very effective, they might coming in using the same distribution strategy. So that's why porters is very, very important, that you have to understand what exactly is going on to the market. That's what how porters is. Now, when it comes to substitute, the threat of substitute, what is the purpose for that in terms of distribution? The purpose of this is like you have to make sure that the distribution, of the distribution of the so-called what we call this substitute would be better than what you're doing. No, I mean, you should be better than what your substitute product are doing. Because if this substitute are better than yours, then probably customers will always be getting the substitute than your product. So that's how you have to be very careful about it. Because if the customers are used to the substitute, they might not coming back to you, because more or less substitute have a less price than yours. So you have to be very careful about that. Now you have to understand also the power of your customer, the power of your suppliers. Because, well, yeah, as I keep on mentioning, if the suppliers are used, I mean the competitors, I mean the customer are used to the substitute product, they are used to the competitor's product, then it may endanger your business.
Number 7, how to identify distribution gap.
Wow, distribution gap. Well, as I keep on mentioning, it's actually about what you are doing right now and what you needs to do. All right, what you are doing right now and what you needs to do. So if even you're a big companies, even like big companies, you have your distribution frameworks being set up. It doesn't mean that you have nothing to improve. It doesn't mean that you have to do nothing at all since you are already established. No, because customers' preferences, customers' behavior keep on changing. Like say for example, you have the distribution being set up, and here's the pandemic coming in, and do the distribution framework that you have, is it still applicable in this type of pandemic? Is it still applicable in this type of situation? You know, so the gap is the possibilities that you haven't done yet, that you need to be done just for the customer to get your product. So you might have this existing distribution, but the customers are looking for different options, a different way to receive the product, and then whatever is the difference between what you're doing and what the customers wanted right now, that's the gap. Okay, let's say for example, just an example, if you're good in urban areas but you are not good in the distribution in terms of the rural areas, so you see the gap. You might probably doing something here. This, for example, in terms of delivery, you have like a caritos. You probably have like a very the traditional distribution, like you are using a tricycle or whatever, in a particular area. Then in the other area, you are not doing it, and the customers having hard time to get your product. So the gap is like, why are you not going to use what you're doing in this particular area in the other area? Okay, so there is like something that you have not done that you have to really do it. All right, so it's like uh, something that could improve your distribution framework or system. Something that would improve your way of bringing the product into the market. Okay, just an example. Another example. You have a bakery, and you serve in this particular area. Say for example, you serve the area of near National University. That's the area you serve. Now you wanted to serve the area at the university built, probably, or probably the area in Trabajo Market, or probably in the area of like the TIP site. And since you are near to National University, you have a bakery, you're really having hard time getting this market because it's far from your place. Now, sir, I will have to do the distribution by just having a tricycle or maybe a motorcycle. It might not be relevant. It might not be relevant to get that market. Because remember, this is a bakery. And they could probably get some bakeries that is available in the area. So why order at your bakery which is far from their place? So now the distribution is concentrated at National University since your place is there. Now, I might probably open some branch. Well, that's good, but that's expensive. All right? I might probably open a branch in Sampaloc, I mean in Trabajo Market, branch in a TIP area, or some branch say for example in the University Belt. So it's like, because it's far from my place, but it's expensive. You can't do it. So what's the best thing that you can do? So you see the gap now. You want to serve the market, but you are not present there. So you are thinking of a distribution strategy of like bringing in there by just getting a motorcycle and then bring the product there. So maybe you just like, through ordering, or maybe someone would like bring the product and go around the place like what Julie's Bake Shop is doing. No, meron silang what we call it, the bicycle bake what we call this way of distribution. They like go around with the Julie's product. No, I'm not sure if you're able to see that, but sustainability is a question there. So what really I can do? Here's the best thing that you could probably do. Go to in that area, find a place. Because if you open a branch, it's expensive. You have to develop the place. You have to buy an oven. You have to pay someone to make sure that you have the people to manage the business. So why not do this? Find someone there, a place, and have a tie up with them. Make use of their place. You can provide like just the glass display. That's what you only need to have, and then ask them, so I'll be putting something here in your place. I will give you business. What you should do is just let my glass shields over here and to display my product. So I'm using your place for free. I'm not going to pay any rent. So you're the one to manage it as well. I just have to bring here pandesal every day or other product that is saleable in this area, and I will sell it to you at a very minimal amount. Let's say, for example, I just give you a discount. So if you sell the pandesal at 2 pesos, I'll give you at 150. You have 50 cents. So what, you have nothing to do. I have the glass, display. And you just place it here, the better wherever it's good to place it. Then every day I will bring the bread to you, so that the market here can see my product. The market in this area will able have a time as well, or a chance as well, to get my product, right? So that's actually an opportunity to that someone. So that's a distribution. So you try to bring the product closer to your market in where you wanted to have, without spending so much. You just have asked someone, tie up with someone who owns the place, and you bring the product there. So you don't have to buy oven. So what you do, the product in Sampaloc near National University, and then bring it there for display. All right. So that's what actually the gap. That the things that you need to do, but you haven't done it yet. You have an existing service, you have an existing distribution, but you need to improve because the customer is also looking for a new way of getting the product. So since you are not able to get that new way, to get that best way, then you have the gap. Okay?
So the last question under distribution management is how to develop a relevant distribution framework.
Oh, wow. That's a good question. Actually, I have mentioned it already. What I have mentioned, um, like in that particular scenario that I have given you, you have the bakery at National University, but you wanted to access, or you wanted to get the market in University Belt, in Trabajo Market, or in the TIP area. All right. Now, because and you believe that this area are potentials for people to get the a business like bakery. All right. Now, as I have mentioned, if you have no funds to buy another, oven to renovate the place, to have someone to stay there, and then you have to pay for them, you have to pay for the what we call this, the baker. The best way that you can do is like the most relevant that you can do. First, make sure that your product is available there. So by opening an outlet, and since you cannot buy, you cannot afford to buy, three different machines, pay for a baker again. So you just have stay with the baker what you have in a national university, near national university, and then have all breads being cooked in there, and then you have someone there tie up in those places, as I mentioned earlier. So you just have buy this a glass display cabinet, whatever they call it, just put inside in with whoever you tie up there, and then bring a bread there every day, especially a fresh cook, what we call this, pandesal every day. Your secret tip, especially if your bread is good, and no, you don't have like an oven in that area, it's still good. You just have to bring the bread there every day, coming from one place. Okay, actually, this is what big, you know bread company are doing, no, like Gardenia. Look at Gardenia. They have just one manufacturing plant in Laguna, all right, and then they have these different places. Do Gardenia has an equipment or machines inside the grocery? No, just bring the product there and have it displayed. Like the same concept. So in a small bakery, why you can actually do that. And I have seen that also in some provinces, wherein maybe who among you lives in the provinces is like, in early morning there is someone like using the motorcycle and then shouting pandesal, and the bakery is located somewhere, and in the area there is no bakery. They just have the motorcycle and just go around. But the problem with it is just like you are just available in a particular time. But putting like a stand and or something like an outlet there, someone like a tie-up who would like to earn money, give them business, so you're able to help them, and at the same time you're able to expand your market share expanding as well. So it's two birds in one stone. You help somebody and you earn. Aside from earning, you expand your market. That's the most relevant, an example of a most relevant distribution system. So, how to develop it? You have to do the environmental analysis. You have to scan the environment. You have to look at your strength. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Like in that case, your weakness is funds, but there's an opportunity. So, how are you going to take the opportunity? You have to find a different strategy. You know what I mean? That's how important the analysis is. By using these tools, you're able to identify, oh, there's a market there. There's an opportunity in that area. But the problem is that I have no funds. My weakness is funds. My weakness is money. And I have some weakness as well because I have to pay people. I have to find a baker and something. So what should I do now? What's the best strategy I can do now? Using the analysis that I have. Am I going to stop because I can't afford it? I have to going to stop because I have no strength of doing it? No. You have to find a way. You have to find something that will make your product available in that area. Let's say example that I have said a while ago. So to develop the framework, you have to use the tools so that you can identify the best distribution strategy that is appropriate for your business. All right? Any other question? All right. So if there is no other question, actually these are all questions that I was able to identify very important in the subject. Especially on the side of analysis and developing the framework. So I hope that I was able to answer this question and provide some inputs and ideas, and how important distribution is in a particular business, and how important to identify the right framework or the right system that is relevant, applicable for the business, that is also provide convenient and comfort to the customer. So with that, thank you and see you in the next video.